We're here for practice number 2 of 25 for the Colorado Buffaloes. Adam Munsterteiger joining me, and Adam, we can't watch things yet, but it's still, we can get some things by talking to people and trying to figure some things out with this team. And let's talk about some of the things that we've been able to gather from the first couple of days here. I know you talked to Coach Darian Hagan. The running back situation is one that is a big question throughout this entire season. Who's going to replace Phillip Lindsay? And you talked to Coach Hagan about that because there's a lot of on the depth chart right now, a lot of oars.
A lot of oars. A lot of oars.
So,
well, I posed the question, do you want a guy to emerge during camp to be your feature back, or do you want to go back to a rotation? We saw early under Mike McIntyre here, they did that. But it seemed like when they had that running back by committee, none of them really got into a rhythm. Obviously, with Phillip Lindsay taking the reins the last couple of years, they had that one guy that could really rely on. It seemed like that system worked better. Darian Hagan says he wants a feature back. At this point, though, he has no idea who that's going to be. I think most fans expect it to be Trayvon McMillan. But even Trayvon McMillan, as a grad transfer, having success in the ACC, having over 1,000 yards in a season, is still kind of swimming at this point. He said it's moving faster than what he expects. So right now, Kyle Evans is getting the most reps with the first team. He also obviously likes what Alex Fontenot brings, says he's the fastest running back in that room. But Alex Fontenot has to improve in pass protection if he's going to potentially be a lead back. I know you talked to Kyle Evans. What was kind of his take?
Yeah, kind of the same thing. You know, Kyle talked about how, you know, there is 5 or 6 of us, and we all bring something different to the table. And when you look at those guys, they do. You know, Kyle's that short guy, you know, kind of muscly guy. I mean, really strong guy, short. Trayvon McMillan's a bigger guy. Bo Bisharat's a different type of back. I mean, kind of big, powerful back. And Donovan Lee brings something to the table. Alex Fontenot. So, yeah, they all bring something different to the table. And, you know, Kyle mentioned, he said, hey, you know, we are just battling. And there's no pads yet, so nobody knows. And, you know, I did ask him about Trayvon, his impressions so far. And he said Trayvon's fit in really well. They've gone bowling and done some team bonding things and really likes Trayvon and what he brings to the table. So it's going to be interesting to see really who emerges there.
It'd be really interesting if Trayvon McMillan is not your starting back. What is his attitude like? He transferred here because he saw what Phillip Lindsay did here, and he didn't like the running back by committee at Virginia Tech. So that will be interesting. I think still, if you're putting odds on it, though, you've got to think he's the favorite, right?
I would think so. You know, as I've talked to, you know, some, you know, Shiverini over the summer, he's like, hey, look, Trayvon's got to learn the offense, though, and we've got to see if he can play. Obviously, he showed in the ACC he can play football, but he's got to learn this offense and show that he can do it. But I know they like Alex a lot, and then you can't discount what Kyle Evans has done and Bo Bisharat. You know, we all keep kind of waiting to see if he's going to emerge and do something more than what he's done as a short yardage back. And I don't like to discount a kid. You know, from what I've seen, I wouldn't expect it, but I don't like to discount a kid and say that he can't do it. So it'll be interesting.
And it is a construction zone out here around practices, so it's been kind of interesting covering it with drills and ladies with knives. It's been an interesting start to camp from that regard.
It has been. There's a lot of reconstructing going on inside the gates, but certainly outside the gates as well. One of the topics today was the redshirt rule, and Coach McIntyre's talked about that over the summer. But the redshirt rule, obviously, you know, for the fans that don't know, those kids can now play up to 4 games and maintain their red shirt. So you and I were talking before this, who would have ever benefited from that in the past? And, you know, a couple names we thought of from the past, obviously, Joel Klatt, Tyler Hansen, guys like that.
Yeah, there's no negative to this rule, right? It keeps freshmen engaged. Neil Welk asked about that. I think you know you're going to have a chance to play. You're going to pay attention more in the meeting rooms. And I think it prolongs careers. It gives guys more of an opportunity, and I think it's good for fans. Let's say it's a blowout game. If you're a diehard fan, you're going to stick around to watch those freshmen and see what the future holds for those guys.
Yeah, a game that I thought of from last year. We were kind of talking about who would have benefited from it maybe last year, and I thought about that Washington State game that you know, was just an ugly game for CU. Steven Montez was awful, gets pulled at halftime. Sam Neuer not very effective. Is that a game that you take Tyler Lytle and say, all right, kid, get out there. Go play the fourth quarter. It's yours. This is a game that's kind of lost at this point anyway. It's not working. Go try it out. That's probably a game where you use Tyler Lytle. If there's a game like that this year, maybe that's where you use Blake Stenstrom if he's ready. So I think there's some benefit there, and I think fans would have loved to see Tyler Lytle. Not great conditions in Pullman that night, but fans would have loved to see him in a game.
And it'll be interesting if I look at last year. Laviska Shenault made plays every time he was on the field, but he wasn't on the field a ton. With this new rule, are you going to redshirt a guy like that, or are you going to play him a similar role like they did with him last year. So it'll be interesting how they kind of manage this new rule as well.
A guy like, I know he's gone now, but Dante Sparaco, that played a little bit early, but then didn't.
Had the hand injury, yeah.
You know, as he won that, you know, could have preserved a red shirt with something like that. So you think about things like that, and it's going to be interesting to see how CU uses it. I think there's a perception that, oh, there's all these young guys are going to play early. I don't think that's necessarily the case, because I think Mike McIntyre's going to be a little conservative with that and try to preserve guys for if he needs them later in the year.
Yep.
So we'll see. We'll be back later on for some more camp updates as we go through.